Well, this certainly is not the conversation that I thought we would be having today. Yeah, we're going over some commentary about both the Wings and the Canadiens. So, for me, being a fan of both of these teams, I gotta go out there and make the combined video here, despite the fact that I know that some of y'all in the fan bases do not like the others. But either way, let's go out there and talk about both Detroit and Montreal, some very interesting talking points presented by an NHL legend. Today, we are heading over to responsiblegambling.org and reading the latest piece from Sergei Demidov. Sergei Demidov is not related to Ivan Demidov. He is just a writer who happens to be a part of RG.org. He has covered the Olympic Games, Soccer World Cups, the World Cup of Hockey, European Championships, Stanley Cup Finals, and other stuff. We've seen a few articles from Sergei Demidov, always having to point out that he's not related to Ivan in any way. Speaking about Ivan, though, there were some comments made about him in this piece, which will be linked in the description. It's some commentary from Sergei Fedorov, who talks about the NHL greats, Demidov's future, and why there is no bad blood with the Detroit Red Wings. Yeah, that's right. Sergei Fedorov, one of the best forward/defensemen in the NHL of his day. Arguably the most talented player on the ice 99.5% of the time he was playing. And a Red Wings legend. Red Wings legend, Capitals legend, you could go out there and say Columbus Blue Jackets legend, and he has a few fun trivia facts on being paid the highest amount of money that anyone will pretty much ever see in 1 year. AAVs be damned, Sergei Fedorov made $28 million in one season, due to some offer sheet signing bonus shenanigans that occurred with some other teams. But anyways, let's head over to this article here. Fedorov speaking out about his time in Detroit, speaking about the current status of Detroit, speaking out about Ivan Demidov. There's a lot going on with Sergei Fedorov, and it's all in this commentary here. The article talks about Ivan Demidov. What do you think about Demidov moving to Montreal? Is he ready for the NHL? It's a complicated question. I think it's good for young players to become stars, take leadership roles here in Russia, and then head overseas more prepared. Just like Kirill Kaprizov. Of course, every situation is different. I feel bad when kids go to North America too early and they get stuck in the AHL. Nobody teaches you how to play in the North American leagues, even the NHL. They just expect results. You get thrown in the games and that's it. They come back less confident, maybe even worse off. Demidov is special, though. He sees the ice, controls the puck, skates with confidence. At his age, that's very rare. I really like the way he plays. So, I find it interesting how Fedorov talks about the Demidov thing by not really singing his praises for the process here. He sings his praises for the player. Oh yeah, Demidov's a good player, he sees the ice, he's very talented, I like the way he plays, but I like the divergence here, the nuance in his assessment of Russian players leaving Russia this early and heading over to North America. Complicated because they don't teach you how to play North American hockey when you're playing in Russia, and for some of these younger Russians, they do get stuck in the AHL. That's true, it does happen. But at the same time, there are some guys who are just so above and beyond that have no problems transitioning into the North American game. Sometimes the lack of space and the smaller ice surface does help them. Sometimes their skill set is more refined in suiting to this North American style. There have been some other younger guys that have made the jump pretty seamlessly, I would say. Dmitry Voronkov in Columbus. Speaking about Columbus, there also was Kirill Marchenko. You could talk about Igor Chinakhov. Okay, we're sticking only with Columbus. But there are a lot of guys that have been able to make the transition from KHL hockey to the NHL pretty seamlessly at a young age. Marchenko and Voronkov were both born in the year 2000, and they have both really taken off this year. In Vegas, Pavel Dorofeyev is a guy that didn't spend an extended amount of time in the KHL. He just kind of yeeted over to North America a few years ago playing in the AHL. He is now a 30-goal scorer in the National Hockey League. I feel like a lot of these younger guys are starting to find their way in being able to adjust properly and make themselves known easier. And it's not guaranteed that everybody's going to do that. I'm just saying, hey, there are some examples of guys being able to make that jump and making it work. Ivan Demidov is more talented, I would say, than Marchenko or Voronkov or Dorofeyev when those guys were 18, 19 years old. So I'm really confident. But Sergei Fedorov, to bring up that point and say, yeah, this usually happens with Russian guys. Sometimes they'll get stuck in the AHL. They won't find a way to progress forward. Obviously, there are a ton of examples of that happening. The Vasily Podkolzins, the Nikolai Goldobins, the Nikita Sherbaks, the Evgeny Svechnikovs. It's not guaranteed, but it is intriguing to talk about. Now, let's head over to some of the other commentary that Fedorov had about the Detroit Red Wings. How do you assess the state of the Red Wings? They haven't made the playoffs since 2016. They seem stuck. They have a good coach, but no strong goalie tandem, and not enough key players. It's a young team without veterans, and that makes the rebuild even harder. I don't see 3 or 4 strong mobile defensemen out there. Steve Yzerman is doing solid work through the draft, but it takes more than that. Their last right shooting forward left for a bigger contract, and that didn't help either. So that's a really interesting assessment too, specifically talking about a right-handed forward. Is he talking about David Perron? Tyler Bertuzzi? Daniel Sprong? Well, okay, not Sprong. He didn't leave for a bigger contract in Vancouver. Yzerman's doing solid work, but it takes more than that. What an interesting comment from Sergei Fedorov to speak out about how the Wings don't necessarily have the pieces to make the rebuild go along more smoothly. He's talking about mobile defensemen who can move the puck as well. Not enough older guys. I mean, there are a bunch of older guys, are there not? Kane? Petrie? Andrew Kopp? It's kind of interesting to try to decipher where Fedorov is coming from and what kind of player types he is referring to here when he says the Red Wings lack those kinds of guys. Does he want the team to go out there and get more older dudes? More of the Luke Schenn, Ryan O'Reilly, Stanley Cup experience types? I mean, Patrick Kane is right there. Vladimir Tarasenko is right there. Not enough key members either. I mean, Raymond, Larkin, Seider are the big 3. Edvinson's coming in there. You could say Kasper is working his way into that conversation too. I guess you could say that there's an argument that needs to be made for goaltending. You can say there's no key goaltending piece that's in place right now, unless you're counting Trey Augustine and Kosa, but of course those guys aren't on the team yet. It's really interesting what Fedorov has to say about the Red Wings, this sort of low-key addressing of what's not right in the team. I don't know how to respond to that, and I don't know what exactly it is he's referring to that the Wings specifically need to get, other than, oh, they need more key players, they need more older guys, they need more mobile defensemen, they need all of this, a right-shooting forward that ended up leaving. I don't know what that has to do with it, but I do think it was interesting for him to bring up. And finally, there is another comment that I think we need to talk about in this video. What's your current relationship with the Red Wings? When were you last in Detroit? I don't really have a formal relationship with the Wings right now. My mom visits there sometimes because my brother is there. They live in northern Michigan, but I haven't had time to visit them myself. Not because of any hard feelings, I'm just busy. If they invited me, I'd come. That is so interesting. We all recognize that Sergei Fedorov's time in Detroit didn't really end as well as we wanted it to, but still, there is an interesting level of neutrality, maybe, that exists here. You could debate whether or not there are feelings for Illich or whatever, but there's definitely history between Fedorov and the way the Wings moved on from Fedorov and his services. They still gotta retire his number, too. He's definitely good enough to be having that honor granted to him. But let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. What are your opinions about the way Sergei Fedorov spoke out about all these topics? Ivan Demidov, the Red Wings, their current state, and his relationship with the team in Detroit. What are your opinions about how everything went down all those years ago? And what are your thoughts on this article? Let me know in the comments section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign on, and bye.